Hey guys, I'm down here in my garage with my Scat Pack shaker 2019 Dodge Challenger. It's got a pretty cool delivery today. Got a Barton short throw shifter. Just came in, so I thought I'd unbox it with you real quick. This is what it comes with. Looks like just about everything you need. That's the whole shifter part. And we got a few pieces here. Comes with all the nuts and bolts that you need. And then what I got was I got the pistol grip. So kind of uncommon, but a little bit of a throwback. All right, so I got everything unwrapped here. As you can see, comes with everything you need. No instructions though, just a waiver saying that they're not responsible if you mess it up, and there's a video online. Looks pretty good. Pretty excited about it, and here is the pistol grip. Looks really nice. I didn't go with the Punisher logo, although you can get the Punisher logo if you want. Just not me. But I got the 392 to match the car, and they say that they don't match the paint. Obviously they can't match every paint, but they did a pretty good job. My car's kind of dirty there, so sorry about that. But looks like it'll match it pretty well. I think it'll look pretty cool when I put it in. Till probably start working on it tomorrow. Alright guys, I'm back ready to install the Barton shifter. As you can see, you got the standard factory shifter in here, and as you know, it's a little clunky. Hopefully the Barton is a little bit tightens things up a little bit. That's what I hear. This thing is almost like driving a truck almost, so I want something a little sportier. We'll get to that in a second. This video is just going to be a quick overview. There's a lot of really good videos on YouTube about this. I don't want to take anything away from them. So this is just going to be a quick overview, and I'm going to put links to some really good videos in my description. Tools, quick overview. Just going to need basically a 7mm, 10mm, and 13mm with the associated ratchets, 1/2-inch drive and 1/4-inch drive. Some anti-marring pry tools, interior tools, screwdrivers, and a pick tool. And I got a little tin for the big bits and a little magnetic tin for the smaller bits. So basically I'm just going to go around and explain each step, just transition from step to step, not really show you exactly how to do everything, just show you what's going on. Firstly, we got to take out the center console, which starts just by lifting up on. Once you pull up on the cup holder, this thing just pops out, and then now we just need to take this boot off the console here. And if you look under here, there's just some these white clips, not the orange ones, but you can just push in on these clips, and then they pop right up. So that part looks pretty easy. I'm going to get that out in a second, and then I'll be right back. Alright guys, there's actually 6 white clips under there, so you just got to reach under and undo all 6 of them. There's 2 on the side, each side, and there's 1 in the way back and 1 in the way front on the corners there. Might throw you for a little bit of a loop, but not too bad. Next up, just unhook the connector there, the plug for the for all your accessories on the console here. That removed, it should look something like this. I just pulled up on this boot to get out of the way. Next up, we just unplug. There's just 2 plugs, this big guy and this little one, and then here's to unplug those. And there's 2 screws back here. Obviously it's dark. I'm not very good at making YouTube videos, so there's just a screw right here, a screw right there. It's a 7mm. Here's the screw that was holding in the front of the console. As you can see, it's a screwdriver or a 7mm. This one wasn't even in tight, so maybe my car was built on a Friday afternoon. Not sure. The big clip gave me a little trouble. I just used I had to use a screwdriver to get that unplugged, and then this smaller plug was pretty easy to undo. These are kind of attached to the back. I'm not sure how. I don't want to break them, so I'm just going to leave them in there. All right, once we have all this disconnected, we just slide our seats forward, and then we come to the back to where these access panels are in the back of the console. Just going to use a pry tool or that that pick to get underneath that little dot there and pry this off and undo those bolts behind the panel on each side. The seat all the way forward on the driver's side, you don't get much, but I just want to show you. I just used this pick here into that little hole, and the panel popped right out, so it's pretty easy. At the 1/2-inch drive with an extension and a 10mm socket. All right, now that I have everything disconnected from the center console, I'm just going. You can see it's all loose. I'm actually going to try and take this shifter boot off next. If you look down here, there's a nut right there, and then another nut above it. Just going to get a crescent wrench on there and break this nut and take off the top of the shifter ball. All right above this nut here, there's a little piece with 2 notches on it. I just used a 5/8 to put on that, and then I'm just using a 3/4 inch wrench on the bottom. I think it's a 13mm though, but I can't find my 13mm. This will do just fine. We'll just break this nut loose. It's a little stiff to get off, but don't be scared. Just give it the beans there. You just want to go with a 3/4 inch. You just want to go to the left while you hold that 5/8 in place. And, it should just break loose, and then you can just unscrew the top of the shifter there and get this boot off. And now with that all off, we can just carefully take out the center console, make sure everything's disconnected, and you got everything out of your little compartment there. How about you? I don't really have much in there to begin with. I guess if you're a BMW driver, you just keep all your hand lotions in there. I don't know. Now that's taken out, this is the air duct here. It just clips in the back here. Just lift up, and it pops right out. Just remove that. I took everything out. I did find a couple of the clips that fell out when I took out the trim piece. So I'm just gonna put those back in. All right, now we just have to undo this. There's a rubber boot here on top of a metal plate underneath. What we're doing is just undoing these bolts or nuts to get this metal plate off, and so we can swap out the shifter. Obviously, it's 10mm. You don't need a deep socket or anything, just an extension. So it's 2, 4, and 6 bolts. To remove all those, you can pull up on the rubber boots, and all you gotta do is take this guy out with a 13mm. You're just gonna have to get a decent sized interior tool. Pop that in there. It took a little bit of effort, but once you get under it, you can just lift it right up. All right, once you get that removed, I just took this rubber covering and tucked it under here out of the way. There's no real way to take the whole thing out without a big project. Just took everything away, and then you got these 2 pins in here. If you saw from the other videos, you just need a pick tool to get flip this up, and there's the same thing on the other side, and then just slide these pins out. It doesn't matter which side they go into, so I got the left one on this side and the right one I'm going to put right there, just so I remember which way they go. Alright, with the pins out, the only thing holding everything in place, the old shifter in here, is just this control arm thing. I'm not a mechanic, in case I didn't say that before, so just a regular guy. Take what I have to say with a grain of salt. Most videos show you to take out the whole control arm with this one. There's a ton of Loctite. There's a ton of Loctite on here, so it's kind of hard to break free. The Barton video, which is a little bit outdated, but it's basically the same. It just shows you to take out this nut and then take out the shifter from there. So that's what I'm going to try and do, and to keep the control arm in place, one less nut to undo. That bolt came out pretty easily. There's a little bit of Loctite on there, but as you can see, but it was pretty easy to take off, and the whole assembly, factory assembly, just comes out. As you can see, not as beefy as the Barton, so we'll get that put to the side and get the Barton in here. Alright guys, here's where we're at so far. Don't mind my neighbor's got his GTR out, so we got that in the background, but old shifter, old boot, new assembly, Gen 3, Revision 3 from Barton, and the new boots and all the other pieces. Get back to this in a second. We're going to need this later, and there's the pin we just took out. What Barton's supposed to do is to slide this into the control arm there. Slide this piece into this control arm where we just took it out the old one. Make sure it fits. It is extremely tight. I mean, they know what they're doing at Barton. If it's too tight, they say to use some sandpaper to sand down these bushings a little bit so it does fit, but I think I can squeeze it in there and make it work. Alright, once you make sure that fits, you just got to get these arms underneath here and up, and then we're going to put these pins back in the arms first before we go down and connect that bolt into the linkage. If you do happen to drop one of the pins, they just fall on the floor, so telescoping magnet time. Alright, so one problem I'm running into with these pins is obviously the Barton is a lot it's a lot more snug than the factory shifter. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for a little bit better quality. As you can see, it's not wiggling around at all. I was trying to get these pins in here. You can't really see around to line them up correctly. So what I'm doing is I'm just using a mirror and getting in there. And then if you look around, I don't have my light on, but if you shine a flashlight in there, you can kind of line it up a little bit better. If you have one of these telescoping dentist mirrors, I'm not sure what they're called, but yeah, just get one of these and it'll make your life a little bit easier. Alright guys, so I'm still working on these pins. I got the one on the left side done. Obviously a little bit tighter than the stock shifter, but managed to wedge it in there on the right side. Like I said earlier, it's a little bit more difficult to get in and out. Not a whole lot of space in there, despite what it looks like. So I got the mirror in there, and you can see pretty much lined up correctly. So hopefully once I get the pin back in there, it'll slide pretty much in. It's just kind of difficult to get back there. Just make note of that, and I think the mirror helps a lot to get things lined up correctly. Alright folks, I got it figured out here. Once you get it all lined up like I showed you just now, the best way to go in there to get that pin is take your left hand with your two fingers. Obviously I have fat sausage fingers, but just take that pin in between your two middle and pointer finger, and then just slide it, somehow get it in there, and then just slide it in, and as long as it's lined up, it should go in pretty easily. So You can see it's not all the way in there, but this clip has to go in and down and around, opposite how you took it out. So when you took it out, it was pretty easy, just flip down, up and around, and it slides out. So I got that pin locked in place on the right side over there. Just make sure that little tab goes all the way down and around and locks in. As you can see, the tab here is locked in up top. This is how they do it in the Barton video. They do the pins first, and then they come down below here and do the linkage bolt in the bottom. If you do it this way with this generation shifter and a newer Challenger after 2015, doing that, you can't really bring it up at all. It hits on the side here. It's just a little bit bigger than I think it used to be, so it's a little bit more difficult. On the back of here, this comes with a shifter. It's a much better setup. They got rubber in here to decrease vibrations and noise and all that. So there's enough space to get this on still. So hopefully not all lost, and I'm gonna try and get that on right now. So I'm still trying to get this linkage bolt in the bottom here, and I'm pretty much about to give up. Should probably just go out and do it the other way. So I'm gonna just undo these pins and then do this linkage bolt first, and then put the pins in. That's how a lot of the other videos had it done. I tried to do it the way the Barton video was, and there's just not enough room in here with this bigger shifter. So these legs, I think, are a little bit beefier, and there's this little flange here that it's catching on, so you can't really get a good purchase on it. So not really enough room in there with the tools I have. I'm just a normal guy with regular tools, so I can't really get in there and tighten that bolt up. So as you can see, with the pins removed, you can just lift it up a lot easier and get in there and get a ratchet on that linkage bolt, and it was super easy to get on like this. So now I'm just going to go back and redo these pins like I did before. Alright, once you have everything reconnected and the pins in and all the bolts in, I just put this bracket back on. It just slides on, and that's how you connect the shifter to the floor pan. So after that, we just got our floor pan here with the gasket installed front and up, obviously. Yep, so just put the floor pan back in like you took it out. And now you got the floor pan on and the booter on the shifter. You just bring that bracket up through the hole that was in the floor pan and get that nut started, and then just start tightening this nut that brings the whole shifter up to the floor pan. Make sure everything is aligned in the correct holes back there, and after you tighten this, then you just tighten up the 6 other nuts. Alright, the rubber piece goes under the carpet here, and just want to make sure this little bracket there is popped back on the rubber mat. Now you just put on these 2 pieces. So this large notch is going to go to the inside. There's 2 of them, so they go on both the front and the back, and then 4 bolts on each one of them, and you put the lock washer on first, and then the regular washer, and then just tighten them on. Alright, once you got these 2 pieces on like that, you don't even want these bolts to be finger tight, because this is how you adjust the shifter left to right. This is the newer yoke that they have for the actual shifter handle. So just fits in like that. As you can see, it's very precise. I mean, there's like not even a millimeter off for that to fit in there. So it's machined very well. Now with this, a lot of the other videos aren't talking about this yet. This is pretty new. Your handle goes on this, and this is a way for you to adjust your handle back and forth as opposed to side to side. So this fits in here like that, and then we're going to tighten this up all the way with the 2 bolts on each side, and those as well have the lock washers and regular washers on them. And that's how it looks all tightened down. As you can see, it can still move it back and forth. I just want to make sure that this cutout is towards the passenger side. That's because when you put the handle on, as you can see, it goes the right way and it just fits in like that. So what I'm going to do now is just get that tightened in the same way, tighten the top one and then leave the bottom one loose so I can still adjust it back and forth. So you can see I got the pistol grip set on top now. There's two screws that you'll need a hex wrench for to get them in all the way, but I just set them in part way now. As you can see, you can adjust it back and forward. The bottom one has a lock washer and regular washer like all the other bolts, and the top one just has a lock washer in there. And then there's, on the other side, it's a little hole for a set screw that goes in there. Don't want to lose it. It's just in the bag with these screws, so it's something to watch out for. That's off to the side for now. I'm going to just put in all the rest of the center console and get everything, see how I like it, and then get everything set up. Alright, so not so hard to get everything put back in place. The air conditioning duct is just right under here. Make sure you get that in first, and that just obviously goes into place. So make sure you're not pinching any wires. I did have to move the shift handle all the way back to get the console to fit, but it wasn't too hard to get in. So you can assemble this whole thing and then put in your center console. So up next, just plug in all these wires, and then we'll be working on getting this set up how we want it. Alright, so I got the handle all tightened up. I just gotta figure out where you want it. I like mine a little bit forward. You just tighten these up with the Allen keys, and then put your set screw in. It's the middle hole down there. Just goes all the way through. Just got it tight in there. Now all I have to do is figure out where I want it, left or right, and get it tightened down, put the top trim on, and take it for a test drive before I put the boot over it. I just have to say that the pistol grip is actually really comfortable. I was kind of worried it wouldn't be comfortable, but it feels, I mean, if you go in your kitchen and squeeze a stick of butter, that's kind of how it feels. It feels like butter. My hands are large. You know, if you got tinier hands, I think it'll still be comfortable. If you have extra large or extra large hands, I think it'll be comfortable as well. It's just a very, very good fit. There's no sharp edges or anything. Everything is machined pretty much perfectly, and it just feels really good. Everything is flush, and that's all I have to say about that. I can't wait to drive it. Alright folks, here it is, almost done. Looks pretty good. Even without the covering on, I kind of almost want to keep it like that. But I'm going to take it for a test drive before I button everything up and see how it works. I got it angled the way I want. Should feel pretty good on the road. So once I get back from my test drive, we'll get the boot put back on. Well, just got back from my test drive. You've all heard the reviews. It's great. I mean, it doesn't feel like I'm driving a World War II era truck anymore, so that's good. Actually kind of goes with the car a little bit better too. I think it adds a little bit to the interior. All you gotta do now is put the cover back on, the boot, whatever you want to call it. There's a little bit of a elastic band in here that went over the old shifter to keep it in place, but if you've seen the other videos, everyone's tried to put it on over the Barton and it never works. It's always too small, doesn't stretch that much. So what you gotta do is cut that rubber band in there and replace it with a zip tie that they give you, and then we'll just slip it on over and clip this back in place with the clips, and we'll be done. Alright, almost done here. Just trying to get this boot onto the pistol grip handle. The best way to do this actually is to take the handle back off. I noted the position it was in before I took it off, and just turn the boot inside out, and then put the pistol grip through, obviously the right side up part, and then through the bottom of it, and then with that ring, that elastic ring removed, thread the zip tie through where the ring used to be, and then you just got to use your interior tools to just kind of push it into that. There's a groove right here. You just got to try and get that into the groove and make sure that obviously that the boot is in the correct position, so when you put it back in and push the boot, the handle through the boot, that it pops out and it's right side up and in the right right area like that. So that should, if I just push this boot down like that, it should pop into place. So all I have to do now is get this handle back on with those two hex bolts. And there's the one with the Loctite. Both have a Loctite washers, and one has a Loctite washer and a regular washer. And then that set screw is still in there. I just loosened it up, but I'll tighten it back down once I get the handle back on. So I got the handle back on about where I had it, and I've got the boot right around that groove, as close as I could. It's probably not exact, but cinch that zip tie down. All we gotta do now is push this boot down and clip it in, and should be pretty much done. And that's about it. Just clips right down. Got it pretty close. It's not going anywhere. The boot around this the handle. So I'm gonna call it good. This took me a lot longer than I thought it would, but it's my first. This is the most major project I've ever done on my own in a car, so thanks for bearing with me. The hardest thing was definitely those pins in the for the arms, and that linkage bolt right below the shifter. It cost me a lot of time. I'm not a mechanic or anything, I'm just an average guy with average tools. So if you want to do this project, highly recommend it. It makes your car a lot better. Especially if you got a shift knob or the pistol grip that you really want. I think it's definitely worth it. Definitely improves performance on these manual Challengers. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.